So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Q&A and another update on where my hair is at. I say give it another 4 weeks, another 6 weeks, and I'll start getting my little curls on the front, and I'll start to resemble old Iman. But for now, I'm not quite Igor, and I'm not quite Iman. I'm like in this weird purgatory. As I said, give it 4 to 6 more weeks, and I'll have my luscious hair back. So let's get straight into the first question. What questions do you ask e-com clients to make sure they are a good fit, break even, ROAS, margins, etc., etc.? Now, first things first, Ryan, good to hear from you. Ryan's been a long time student of the GrowYourAgency programs. But what you mentioned there, break even, ROAS, and margins, those two interact with each other. So obviously the way that you find out their break even ROAS is you find out what their gross margins are. So really the main things I'm looking at with an e-commerce clients is, as you mentioned, their margins and then their break-even ROAS. Now, we've had clients come to us where their gross break-even margin is 4. And when you take into consideration some of the other operating costs and our fees, it's just not worth it. Really highest we'll go for the break-even ROAS is a 3.2 or, at the maximum a 3.4. Because remember, that is literally the point in which you're breaking even on ad spend, not where you're even making money. So yeah, that's sort of the maximum that we go. So as I said, if a company has really below 30% gross margins, then we really won't touch them and we'll just avoid them. So yeah, obviously that's the main thing I'm looking at, as well as their revenue and their current ad spend. Because I'm trying to understand, are we coming into something that is done very well organically? If that's the case, and for example, let's say they're doing 100K a month organically through influencers, through YouTube reviewers, etc., then that makes my life a hell of a lot easier when I come into the mix, because there's so much retargeting data and really there's so much low hanging fruit that I can use. It's different if we have a client who's already spending 200K a month and they're getting a 2.4x ROAS, and we're really trying to squeeze and get to 2.8 or 3x. So I'm really trying to understand the metrics and the scope of how much we can improve the KPIs. And then outside of that, I'm also looking at if they're a company that does both online and offline, really what is the split there? For example, we had a client who's doing around 150, 200K a month at the moment in the Italian market, but that's offline. And then they're only doing around 20K a month online. And they recently just started. Now 20K really isn't at that level for e-commerce business where we'd want to bring them on, but because they have such a track record with their offline business, we thought it was worth the risk. Now that's probably a good leeway into what sort of minimum revenue we're looking at with e-commerce clients. For us, really, we're not going to be touching anything below $40,000 or $50,000 a month in revenue. And even in those cases, that's a very low amount for the business to be doing for us to work with them. In that instance, we would see a lot of potential, and then we'd make majority of our money on the percentage of ROAS and charge a very, very low base fee of £2,500 a month. So those are sort of the main numbers that we're looking at. Outside of that, we're also looking at how many customers they have, what sort of business is it. For example, we were speaking to a keto monitor the other day. So this is a monitor that obviously checks your ketone level as well as your glucose level. And the thing with that is they get a lot of repeat purchases because people have to buy the testing strips. So that's a business where there's a lot of repeat purchases. And it's good on our side to know that as advertisers, because we're going to scoop up a lot of sales through retargeting. Whereas a business where you're buying, let's just say, a TV or a piece of furniture, you're not getting as many repeat customers, to be honest. Next question is, how do you handle your personal security? At your level of success, I'm sure you need a lot of safety measures to not get screwed over from robbers or even people blackmailing you. So you're definitely right. As things grow and you end up getting more success, attention, etc., those things are concerns. And to be honest, end of 2019 and basically the past 12 months showed me that is a real thing. The past year's been crazy. I've actually had someone blackmail me, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen that Kevin Hart documentary where like one of his best friends, someone he thought he could trust, confidant, where he's actually the one who sets up this cahoots to try to blackmail him and extort him out of money. Well, that really shows you that a lot of times, even the people who you think are like your brothers, a lot of times they're the ones who end up doing you the worst. And I experienced that at the beginning of 2020, and it's nuts because I've had subliminal attacks and I've had competitors come after me, but to have someone in my own circle who would do something, I don't know, it was just, that really opened my eyes up to stuff. And even in 2019, I really didn't have security issues. Became more of an issue towards actually the end of the year. Like even at my old place, I had in 1 week 3 people showing up at my house, which is really just fucked, to be honest. Now, even in my last place, it was a bit of a fortress. Cameras on the outside, multiple cameras on the inside. You know, never a camera in my bedroom, but in all the other rooms except for obviously toilets, etc. And that was for multiple reasons. First of all, any sort of theft would, you know, there wasn't one part of the house except for the bedroom, which I keep nothing in except for clothes, and the toilets where it wasn't under surveillance. So once again, anything to do with theft. Another thing, and this is honestly very scary, is when you are young and you're successful, I'm just being very honest, you get a lot of scares. It can be scary in terms of rape allegations, in terms of sexual harassment allegations. Now, you know, for me, I don't really have entanglements with people I don't know, and definitely not on the first night. Okay. So, you know, for me, any women who I end up having entanglements with, you know, either I know them through my social circle, either they're a friend of a friend and they can be vetted for. Like for me, I'm just not going to take some random person back to my house on the first night. So security was something that was in my mind in 2019. As I said, with cameras in the house, stuff like that. Now going into 2020, as I said, after experiencing random ass people showing up in my house, after experiencing someone who I considered a brother literally blackmailing me, stealing from me, and then hitting me from a personal relationships level, which was the one that probably stung the most. It really was a wake-up call of like, oh, these things do happen. Because I've always been such a good judge of character, and I've always, you know, people ask me all the time, like, do you not have more people take advantage of you and this and that? And like, to be honest, not really. Like, I have incredible friends, and I've always had such an incredible social circle. And that was the first time ever where I kind of just got blindsided, but it did show me a lot. And what I realized was like, I did need to beef up security, and I needed protection in many ways, which, you know, I won't go into what that entails. But earlier on this year, I brought on Nikolai. I think I mentioned him a few times. He's head of IP and cybersecurity. So he works diligently around the clock to make sure that my intellectual property is safe. And Nikolai even runs a sub team to make sure that happens 24/7. We're talking website takedowns, Instagram takedowns, Twitter takedowns, PayPal takedowns, Stripe freezes, bank freezes. The dude is a monster.
The DX side, suck it! D-Generation!
And then outside of that, security stuff and online security stuff and just privacy stuff. Once again, I had to beef up security and make sure that I had eyes in all places. And once again, I'm not going to go into what that entails, but it is nice to know that I have literally a dedicated person to make sure that I am safe, I am secure, my intellectual property is secure, and to make sure that, as I said, without going into details, I have eyes everywhere. So that's that. Now, in terms of other aspects of security, my first place was a fortress. This is a compound. The security in this place is on another level. Once again, similar sort of things. There are cameras everywhere except for the bedroom as well as the toilets. And a lot of times when people walk into my house, they actually have to sign NDAs. And then just in terms of valuables in my house, I mean, once again, like someone could come in and, I don't know, steal an Apple TV or like a laptop or whatever, but it's like you're caught on camera because it's 24/7 surveillance. So the only thing you can really steal is something from the bathroom, and I don't know, be my guest. You can take my Creed or my Chanel cologne if you want, or you can steal something from my wardrobe. So I don't know if you want some of my Laura Piana, or, you know, you want some of my Golden Goose shoes. Be my guest, you can take those, but nonetheless, even on your way out, you're still gonna be caught on camera. So that's that. Now, in terms of my watch safety, you guys always ask for a watch video, and the reason I can't do it is because for insurance, my watches need to be at my safety deposit box, and in order to get all of them in one place, basically, I have to let the place know in advance, and then they bring someone in an armored truck to my house, and then they come and collect it and drop it back off. So that's the way it works with the insurance as well as the safety deposit box. So at any given time, I really don't have any valuable watches. I'll have probably 2 valuable watches in the house. Now, I have a bunch of watches below the like 300-pound mark. Those are my fun sort of kiddish watches. But yeah, in general, when it comes to security, it's something that in beginning of 2019, I didn't think of at all. By mid 2019, I thought of a lot in terms of making sure that I had cameras and really good security in my house. By the time the 2020 rolled around, I mean, I have someone whose full-time job is to make sure that I'm secure and safe, and you know, I'm omnipresent, you know, without going into detail, and everything else is at the highest grade of security it can be. So, but you're right, it is something that's very, very scary, but all I can say is get some good security. You know, in Russian, we have this term called krysha, and it roughly translates to roof. So, yeah, everyone, all I can say is once you get to a certain level, everyone needs their own Nikolai. Next question is, what are some of the character traits you look for when dating a girl? I mean, dude, there's so many, but the most important ones to me are that she's driven in some aspect. Now, I actually kind of learned from my last relationship. You know, I thought that I really wanted this I thought I wanted a entrepreneurial business owner girlfriend. I've realized that I kind of don't. to be honest, because I don't know, it's just like you've got your business life, and then in your relationship, business is a big talking point as well. And I kind of realized that I don't really want that. But I want a girl who, if she's an artist, if she's a singer, whatever it is that she does in life and whatever avenue that she goes, an athlete, I don't care. I mean, honestly, even if she works a job, whatever it is that she's passionate about it and she's fully engaged and she's fully present to her work. The other thing that's super important to me in a relationship is being with a girl who has her own social life, who has her own social circle. Because look, to be honest, you don't just want a girl who like, she always has to come along to your plans. Like, you want her to have her plans and you to have your plans, and her to have her big social circle and you to have your social circle, and they can mesh and meet and this and that. But like, as I said, you don't want a girl that, you know, you just have to bring to everything and she doesn't have her own plans. The other thing that's super important for me is just a girl who is not pretentious at all. It doesn't matter if we fly first class together or economy. It doesn't matter if we go to a little rundown Chinese place or to Nobu. Whatever it is, that she's grateful for it and grateful for those experiences together. And some of the other stuff that I can think of, a girlfriend who's not too clingy or just not too high maintenance. Obviously, like, I'm not the sort of boyfriend you're gonna get a good morning text from, because my phone turns on at like 1 or 2 o'clock. I'm also just notoriously horrible at texting. I remember one time with my ex-girlfriend, this is like, but I will say, this is like, just don't do this. This is dumb. This is probably like 72 hours later. She texted me and she was like, you know, I'm like still alive, right? Like, I just had forgotten to text her for 72 hours. I remember at that point, I was just really, I had a lot on my plate with work, and like, I was just so focused on that. But anyways, just in general, notoriously bad texter. But look, there's so many that I could go on for. The other thing that's important to me is that she has a really good relationship with my mother. The other thing that I would want is for her to have a good relationship with her parents, because I think that's indicative of a lot. So there's, you know, I could go on for hours and hours, but really those are the main ones that I look at. Next question is, what are the 20% for 80% more energy throughout the day? Sleep and nutrition. If you get that on point, that is literally 80% of everything. So as long as you're getting incredible sleep, like, in my opinion, sleep should be your number one priority, and then second to that should be diet. So really getting in tune with your body and finding out what causes you inflammation. Like, people pretend and act like bloating is not normal, brain fog is not normal. So you got to find out what is doing that to you. What is giving you bloating? What is giving you brain fog? You should not eat a meal and feel like you need to have a nap for the 45 minutes after it. What? You know, even beginning of last year, I thought that was normal. I was like, look, you're never going to get past that sort of lunchtime slump. And I realized now at this point, I'll eat a huge lunch and literally nothing. No bloating, which I've never really struggled with anyways, but like zero brain fog at all. And that is normal. So as I said, sleep and nutrition is literally the most important thing. After that comes exercise, but like, sleep is like here, nutrition is like here, and then like exercise is down here, and then after that, like, honestly, I think just most supplements are dumb anyways. I don't even take any supplements anymore. And then outside of that, I'd say anything you can do to sort of stress the body in a positive way. So a lot of steam room, sauna, cold plunge. I mean, if you could do that 3 or 4 times a week, you would be a beast. And then really outside of that, just making sure that you get as much sunlight as humanly possible. I mean, I live in London, it's hard, but every Sunday morning I go for a run, I end up in the park, I take my shoes off, I ground, I take my shirt off, and I just get as much sun as I humanly can. Even if it's a bit of a cloudy day, it still helps. So really, those are the main things. Last question is, give us an update on buying a car. I remember you were thinking of getting the 570S, but those are going to get replaced this year / early next year. Guys, I just realized, to be honest, I don't want a car. You know, and it does run through my mind, you know, because, you know, I have so many watches, and, you know, and even a watch like this at the moment is around 80,000 pounds. So that's over $100,000, you know, and I'm very regularly wearing at least $50,000 on my wrist. You know, I have 7, 8, 9 watches at that price point of at least $50,000. And, you know, even the rare occasions where I wear my Richard Mille, that's around 200K on my wrist right there. That is a Lambo or Ferrari. And the other thing is, like, you know, and for me, even sometimes I think about it and I'm like, first of all, I would never buy a new car in my entire life. I don't care if I'm 100 millionaire, unless I'm buying, like, say something like a Bugatti or something where it's like, it's super novel and you want to build the relationship directly with the brand. But outside of that, look, my point is, I would never buy a new car in a million years. That's the dumbest thing you can do. So if I bought a supercar, you know, anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 miles on it. And yeah, you know, it does definitely come into my mind at times where I'm like, I bought another watch this month, and for this, the price of this one watch, and, you know, I have so many of these, I could just buy a 911 Turbo S for literally the same price, you know, used with like 8,000 to 10,000 miles on it. And to be honest, guys, what you need to understand is most of the people you see with supercars, they're financing it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, there's nothing wrong with finance. I'm just saying, for me, I can afford a McLaren P1. Like, I could literally afford a Bugatti if I wanted, you know, a 2-3 million pound car. Because I would just finance it over 5 or 8 years and it wouldn't be any issue at all. So that's the thing. Whereas, like, I don't really know of anyone who finances their watches. If they do, I think that's really weird. So if I see someone, for example, with a Richard Mille, to me, that's slightly more impressive than if I see someone with a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari Pista, because I know that that person did not finance it. They just walked in and slapped down 200K cash, or maybe not literally cash, you know, on the Amex or whatever. And yeah, they spent 200K outright to buy it, zero financing. So I think that's one thing that people don't understand, the relationship between cars and watches, like in terms of scale, is like, it's like, guys, to be honest, you really don't need much money to be able to afford like a Ferrari or a Lambo. It's really not that hard. But the reason that I keep buying watches is I keep making money from them. So this is really a side hobby for me, and it's something where with my watches, whenever I buy a watch at retail, I will never sell it in a million years. So for example, all my watches from Rolex will never sell in a million years that I got at retail. My Richard Mille that I got at retail will never sell in a million years. The other one that I didn't get at retail, I will 100% sell. This I did not get at retail. I had to pay market value, and this was actually a watch, an investment piece. I bought this because I really saw the prices going up, and in fact, Patek Philippe has a 10% price increase on the 1st of October. All the other watches I bought at market value, I'm selling for profit. In fact, I'm selling 3 right now for profit. And between those 3 watches, after enjoying them for a year, I would have made right around 25-ish thousand pounds, so $32,000 from enjoying APs, Patek Philippe's, etc., and literally getting them new, wearing them for over a year used, and still making 30,000 on them. And that's really the main difference to me is, guys, I don't think I'll ever buy a car while I'm living in London, to be honest, because first of all, I work from home, and I know that if I was to drive a car, where would I drive it to? I have zero, you know, I don't leave London unless I'm flying. Yeah, I walk to the gym, the organic supermarket, farmer's market type thing that I go to for all my food, that's within walking distance. Like literally everything I could ever need is within walking distance. And to be honest, even in London, I don't Uber that much. I walk.
Okay.
And for me, that's why it's so important to live in Knightsbridge, is because I want to live in an area where everything that I like to go to, all the restaurants that I go to, everything is within walking distance of me. And that's why you pay such a premium to live in the best area in London, in already a city that is astronomically expensive. So long story short is, I don't want a depreciating asset sitting outside my house while I'm also paying an extortionate amount of insurance for it because I'm only 20 years old. To me, it's just not really worth it. Like, it would just be, I would just have a supercar for the sake of saying that I had a supercar, and for the sake of like feeling important, you know, when you drive down the street. And to be honest, anyone who says that they don't buy a supercar or a nice watch for that feeling of importance is just lying. I am the biggest horology fan ever, but of course you love the little discreet looks or attention you get from your watch or whatever it may be. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, to be honest, while I live in London, I just don't think realistically I'll get a car, or at least definitely not for the next 4 or 5 years, because I've got just nowhere to drive it to. The only thing that I will say is next year, I'm actually looking to buy my mom either a big boy Vogue Range Rover. I think they have a new one coming out in 2020. I was actually going to get it for her last month, but I found out that they have a new 2020 model coming out. Either that, or I'm getting my mom a Porsche 911 Turbo S. So it's going to be her car, and then I'm going to use it occasionally, and then I'm going to potentially use it occasionally if I'm going to see my properties. So next year, I'm looking to buy 10 to 15 houses. I've been seeing very cash heavy, basically waiting for house prices to crash. And most of these houses will be from where I live, 45 minutes, an hour more on the outskirts of London. So I guess once again, you can Uber, it's really not an issue, but it would be nice to have a car going back and forth to different property viewings, this and that, but it doesn't warrant me getting a car enough. So that's why I just want to buy my mom a Range Rover or a Porsche. And then, as I said, just use it, you know, 3-4 times a month when I need to use it for the real estate stuff. So yeah, ladies and gents, that pretty much wraps it up. I am actually 2 minutes late to a sales call, which is very, very irresponsible of me. So I need to head off. Appreciate all you guys. Gadget giveaway winner is down below. See you guys next time.